Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now.
DJ PK and the music that puts some people to sleep.
What do we got going here?
I know, right? But makes Brian Taylor sit up straight. It's that time of year. Here comes the Masters. Here comes Brian. Good morning, BT.
Good morning. How are we doing?
We're doing well. Is this just an annual vacation for you? Is this the kind of thing you're just counting down for weeks, months before you take off for Augusta?
I think everybody counts it down. This is my 25th time coming here to Augusta, and that's hard to believe, first of all. Just means I'm getting old. But it's still, you know what? It's still exciting. That's the thing, as we've talked about the last couple of weeks, is whether it's your first time or your 25th time or your 50th time, I think people still get super excited to come back here. There's, you know, we've talked about this for years, DJ, but there's a lot of things in life, and few actually live up to the hype or exceed it, and Augusta's one of those, and they just do such a good job. It's, you know, you show up here and everybody just feels like it's the coolest thing that they've ever experienced, and it's unique. You know, I mean, you don't have cell phones, you don't have, you know, electronic scoreboards, you don't have, you know, big screen televisions everywhere. Like, you literally are in your environment. It's a unique thing to society today, you know, with, you know, you have to like sit and look around and think. You can't just at the first moment's notice, you just start scrolling on your phone because you have a downtime for a second, right? It's just a whole different feel and a different vibe. And I think people are starting to appreciate that more as we continually get locked into our electronic devices. It's interesting.
Did you see the little interaction that Brooks Koepka had with the media guy?
No, I missed that.
Oh, he asked him, the question was, do you think that somebody can shoot a 59 here? And Koepka fired back, have you played the course? and I thought the media member said, he should have said, no, and neither do I live in a multi-million-dollar house. Which would have been a good response. Of course I haven't played it, but he's talking about the idea of being, man, if you shot a 63, that would be incredible. And most of our listeners, I would think the overwhelming majority, have never been there, have never played it, have never walked it. But you have. So you can speak to why did Koepka think that was he was incredulous that somebody would potentially shoot a 59. He said maybe from the members' tees, but not from where these guys are teeing off. And why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a context thing, right? I mean, it probably sounds ludicrous to ask somebody like Brooks Koepka in this setting at the Masters, but I overheard a conversation earlier this week where somebody was explaining, in the media dining, somebody was explaining to somebody else what par meant. So I was my ears perked up. I was like, really? I'm like, we're discussing what par means. So, I mean, look, there's varying levels of media that ascend. This is one of the largest events in the world, and I think you get different people that show up here from different media, you know, whatever. Or it could have just been, I didn't see the interaction, could have just been looking for some sort of sensational reaction, what sounds like he got. But John Rahm was just in the interview room and had a chance to listen to him, and he got several questions about the strategic, you know, approach to the golf course and what makes it so difficult, and amen corner and all this different stuff. And, you know, you hear him talk about it, and it just reminds you that like we look at it and say, okay, it's a par 5 that a lot of people eagle. Let's look at 13, for instance. He started describing it, but he goes, it's important. You know, you obviously want to hit a big draw around the corner and get yourself in position to go at that green. But if you get it too far down, what you don't see is that those tall pine trees still their branches overhang enough to where you still have to hit a slinging hook over Rays Creek into a sort of a narrow green from that angle. So he said and oftentimes you're in sort of a side hill downhill lie. So it's a very difficult shot. And the other comment he made is people always talk about Augusta National being so wide and wide open, but when you get out here and realize that there's certain areas in which you have to position your tee shot in order to be able to have an optimum shot in, it becomes very narrow. And so just to listen to all of that, he also talked about how, he rarely flag hunts. Typically you're, if you want to get close to a pin, you're aiming some other spot, and using the slope and, all these type of things to be able to get the ball close to the hole. And so the nuances that are involved, and then the fact that it's the same golf course, but it doesn't always play the same way. He talked about the firmness of the greens. He talked about the wind and how it swirls through these trees and, all of those things. And so it was pretty cool, right? I did a bunch of study on scoring average, and you think about through 100 rounds, Tiger Woods, 100 rounds here at Augusta. What would you say Tiger's scoring average is, for instance? I mean, what would your thoughts be? Just throw a number out there.
69.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just,
I was going to say, I don't want to say 70.
Yeah, it's like 71, right? And just under 71. So he's just barely a shot under par through 100 rounds. And you just think, Tiger would be in the 60s for sure. That's not the case. It's just so even though Augusta gets a lot of, sometimes criticism, can stand the test of time, today's equipment, better athletes, all that kind of stuff, you're still seeing the best scoring averages barely a shot under par. And it's pretty cool.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
It seems like the tour just constantly reinvents itself. There's always some youngster in the mid-20s. They don't have all the experience to handle all this nuance at Augusta. But, man, they've been the best players on tour here early in the year, and some guys who are veterans are further down the money list. Would you go with guys who are hot right now, or do you think that all that course knowledge you're talking about, hey, somebody's going to do well this week who may not be having a great, California or Florida swing, but it's Augusta, and the new guys are going to take their lumps?
Yeah, it's interesting. So this is the 40th anniversary of Jack Nicklaus's, historic win in 1986 at the age of 46. And he got his record green jacket that year. So there's a lot of talk about Jack and so you start to think, well, history often lines itself up around here. Might we see a 45-year-old, win, again, here? And you start thinking about Justin Rose, of course, who's, lost in the playoff twice, including last year. And then, of course, we remember Fuzzy Zoeller, who passed away this past year. And he was the last player to win in his first attempt back in 1979. So then you say, well, with that and Fuzzy's passing, might a first-timer, come through and win for the first time since Fuzzy. And, so you start thinking of all those. And we ran those scenarios, and almost every person says, I take the 45-year-old. It's more likely, even though, Jack was 46 40 years ago, just feels like, that's probably more likely given the experience required and that sort of thing. Having said all that, my pick's Ludwig Oberg. He's played 2 Masters. He finished runner-up in his first attempt, finished 7th last year. I mean, he's this guy. He's been in position. Yeah, he didn't finish well at the Players Championship, but he was in contention there, playing in the final group. He was in contention last week. I just think Oberg, and when you see him, he's like such a you can accuse me of having a man crush on Oberg. That's fine. But the guy is like unbelievable. How could you not want to come back as that guy, right? I mean, he's like 6'2". He hits the ball a mile. He's unbelievable. You would think if you were just betting ponies and you lined Scheffler up and you lined Oberg up, you're probably going to put your money on Oberg, just looking at the two guys, right? And so I don't know. I like his game, and he just doesn't seem to be too fazed by much, and you kind of need that around here. And so I could see that. I could see a younger guy, a first-timer. I don't know. I mean, Jacob Bridgman is a heck of a putter, and you look at got her up. He's the only 2-time winner, multiple-time winner this year, right? This is his first time. It's Jacob's first time, and I just think it's an eyes wide open kind of experience for a lot of these guys out here.
Are they doing anything for Faldo because it's the 30th year of his last of 3 Masters that he won?
it's one of the things. You know what's interesting is I walked into they have a press locker room, and I walked down in there, and I'm looking at these pictures, and I'm seeing a newspaper, and there's all these like old newspapers articles, like front page, blown up, on a frame and everything, and there's Danny Willett, and it's been 10 years since Danny Willett won, and then there's a thing on Faldo, and I'm like, look at that. I mean, there's the thing on Jack, there's all this stuff, right? So they do that. And I asked the attendant, I go, they check this is new, right? They change these. It goes, yeah, they change them out every year. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna start. You'll see that those little milestones are featured around the golf course during the milestone years, like Faldo in '96, and that kind of thing. It's also, interestingly enough, going through those numbers, is it's been 25 years since Tiger completed the Tiger Slam here at Augusta National. So pretty good, by the way. He did have Valhalla in there, which is no shade on Valhalla. But when your slam includes obviously Augusta and then St. Andrews and Pebble Beach, that's a pretty dang good slam, by the way.
Oh, for sure. I don't know there could be a bad one.
Right? Well, that's true. But if you're going to win it, I mean, why not have Augusta, Pebble, and St. Andrews, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have they changed anything there this year? Some years it seems like that's a big storyline. Some years it's not.
Yeah, so they've lengthened 17, I think about 10 yards is all. So not much. Some big changes a few years ago with 13, obviously getting lengthened, that par 5 and stuff. But no major changes this year to the golf course. One of the things that I'm staring out from my little radio perch here from the far end of the range, looking down the range, right behind the grandstands, which are positioned to watch the players practice, is the new Player Performance Center, which they built, just literally from last Masters to this Masters. And this is a place where the players and their families can hang out. There's physio in there. There's restaurant and food. There's a locker room. And so it's phenomenal, like state-of-the-art, unbelievable. And you know what? Everybody would give that up in a moment to go to that old little place in the old clubhouse called the Champions Locker Room. But yeah, those are some of the new things that for this year.
What's on the menu at the Champions Dinner? Do you know?
Oh man, it's the best menu I think I've ever seen. First of all, how about this starter? Peach and what was the cheese? Some sort of cheese flatbread. And I'm like, okay, you had me at that, right? And then the one that everyone gets hung up on is bacon-wrapped dates. And people are going, yeah, I'm not a date guy. No, but think about it. You've ever had like a burger with bacon jam on it? You're basically creating the bacon jam as you bite it. Like that is what it is. Dates are sweet. You got the bacon on there. I think it's got some goat cheese wrapped in with it. I mean, I'm like, this is brilliant, right? And then he's got this either a salmon fillet or a Wagyu steak fillet. And then, you ready? Kicking it off dessert, sticky toffee pudding. I was in Scotland last year, and there's not a lot to brag about as far as sweets go in Scotland, but the sticky toffee pudding, it's homemade everywhere you go. It's unbelievable stuff. And, yeah, I think this might be one of the best menus I've ever seen. Terrific.
It's a peach and ricotta flatbread with
there
balsamic, hot honey, and basil.
Oh.
Ooh.
Let's go.
Have you
I'm
ever
going to try to recreate that on the – yeah.
Have you ever had grilled elk sliders before?
That one would be probably the one I'd pass on. Not everybody but me.
Caramelized onion jam. Okay, there's 3 words I've never put together in my life before. Caramelized onion jam.
Sounds amazing. Put that on anything, it'd be good. Except ice cream, maybe.
All right, Brian Taylor and Real Golf Radio brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union, Mountainland Supply, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and Uinta Golf. Brian, enjoy the week. We know you will.
Thanks, boys. And I'm anxious to see how you do on your picks. Just so you know, I'm going to give you a heads up. Bob's going with Xander Schauffele. So just so you know, just so you guys can get ready.
Okay.
That's his guy. So.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
See you, boys.
Hey, it's time for a Copper Rock Masters giveaway. Be caller 12 right now at 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-9663, and you'll be assigned a player in the field of the Masters this week. Top 25 and the field. If your golfer wins the Masters, you'll win 18 holes for 2 at Copper Rock Golf Course in Hurricane and a $100 gas gift card. It's brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play. DJ and PK, more in a moment. Stay with us right here on The Zone.